last time they were in Eastern Conference Finals, I think you know a little bit about that, as the New York Knicks in 99, 2000. What are your thoughts so far this season and really the growth of Jalen Brunson as a superstar and really how this team took off, adding Dante DiVincenzo in the offseason, Josh Hart making a trade last year at the trade deadline and putting these three players back together as they've won a championship in Villanova and now taking all their gifts from Villanova and the success of that team and bringing it to the Knicks?
Well, we still got one game to go to win, so it's kind of hard for me to put them in the finals. But the way the team is playing, it just lets you know how well coached those guys were in college. Jay, coaches guys to get them prepared for the NBA. So when they get there, they already understand how to play the game. And adding those guys, and it's fun to watch them because they remind me of our team because everybody understands their role. Nobody is unhappy, or you don't ever see guys on the bench pouting. The bench is into it, the players are into it. They understand that Jalen's going to have the ball and be ready to shoot when when he's coming off the pick and roll. Uh, and I heard the last interview, he does shoot a little bit too much for me, but it's working. He's scoring, he's clutch, he's making big shots, and he's making everybody around him better.
So I wanted to ask about the injuries, the way they've managed them so far this time. We've seen OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, and all throughout the postseason, even at the end of the regular season too. What are your thoughts on the way Tom Thibodeau has managed that so far in the last really 3 months?
Well, it's been awesome because, as you know, in the playoffs, you need depth, you need bodies, and those guys going down like that. The starters have to play, extra minutes. Every team in the NBA that's in the playoffs, they're injured or hurt somewhat. So Tibb is doing what Tibbs does. He understands the game, the nuances of it. He's putting guys in position to succeed. If we go further and we get to these conference finals, I wish we had OG because he gives us that extra body where we can switch on defense a lot. But guys are going to have to, buckle down, get this win against Indiana, and then we'll prepare for Boston when it comes.
As everybody knows, we are talking to former Nets, Knicks, and Raptors point guard, our friend Chris Childs. Chris, you mentioned OG Anunoby, and they're saying he won't be back for Game 6. I do believe if the Knicks end Indiana, he will be back in that Celtics series. I obviously a hamstring. They want to make sure that they're keeping it carefully ready to make a move and bring him back to this roster. I think the Knicks obviously are planning to re-sign him in the offseason. He's still fairly young and he's a gifted defensive player, as we all know. And I remember those Knicks teams in the 90s, from the 94 Knicks and even the 99, 2000 Knicks, which you know a little bit about, obviously. They were a very good team, defensively built. And that was something that Jeff Van Gundy preached, and Tom Thibodeau, who comes from the Van Gundy tree, is preaching that as well. Are your thoughts to Alec Burks? He hasn't played for almost 3 months, and he really, and I'm going to be honest here, the last 2 games, he's been the Knicks' best player. He's really produced defensively when the Knicks needed an open three-pointer or a big-time three-pointer. He was the guy to shoot it. He has been incredible at the perimeter, and I think really has been the difference maker for the Knicks in the last 2 games. What are your thoughts to Alec Burks?
Well, he's a pro's pro. Like I said, when you're playing on the team and you look at the bench, how they're into the game, he's one of the guys that's into it. So he knows that his number might get called any time. So you have to prepare like you're going to play 30 minutes. You have to practice that way. You have to study that way. And I mean, I was surprised when, that he played as well as he did, but he's always been able to produce offensively. He made some great defensive plays, was always in position in the last couple of games when guys were beat. He understands the rotation, when Tibbs is calling on a jump screen where he has to come and cover somebody else's man, and you run to the other guy's man. So I think he's going to be key if we don't have OG in Game 6. We're going to need his toughness. We're going to need his leadership, and we're going to need his professionalism.
One more question for me. I see all these ex-Knicks at these games, okay? I've seen Spreewell. I've seen Marcus Camby. I see all these guys. Patrick Ewing. No Charles Oakley, because we all know James don't like him. But why aren't you there? Why aren't you invited? What's going on with this Knick team? Do you want me to drop the hammer on Allen Houston? This is ridiculous.
No, I've talked to a few of the guys. I called Oak last week to find out, what was going on with that situation because I was one of his big supporters when that thing occurred with Dolan, and I caught some flack from not Dolan per se, but through other people because I supported Oak. But that's my teammate, and if he's going down, I'm gonna go down with him. So I'll have a conversation with Oak in the next few days to find out what's going on because I definitely need to get back to the arena because I haven't been in the Garden since I got traded to Toronto. So it'll be good to get back to see a game, to see fans, to see old friends, and support the team that I'll always be a fan of because I played in New York.
So, what are your thoughts of this referee controversy we've seen in both series so far? Well, both first with the Sixers with the whole Joel Embiid thing and all Nick Nurse's nonsense, and then this series where Carlisle says there were 78 missed calls the first two games. What
Which
are your
is
thoughts on all that?
ridiculous, by the way. That's not true.
Well, if it's 78 missed calls, it's 100 and something possessions. We should have been shooting. Should have just been a free throw shooting contest. But I mean, I understand coaches and players. Getting on the refs because they're going to miss calls, but you cannot let that affect the next play. That's coming from somebody that I got a few technicals during my time yelling at the refs about missed calls, but that's just the nature of the beast. I hear it's rigged. I mean that's basically saying you're cheating, and so I don't think the referees. I have to be careful how I say this. That the referees are in charge of the outcome of the game because we know how that went with one referee when he was reffing. I'm not going to say the name, but I don't think the refs are in it to uh, be the ones that are responsible for one team winning or losing. It's been bad calls throughout the playoffs. That's just part of it. They're human. They make mistakes, but you can't let that affect the next play. That was something that I was taught in college. That was something that Jeff preached a lot when I was there. That was what Lenny Wilkins preached when I was in Toronto. So you just have to continue playing the game because you're going to have missed calls.